There's never a dull moment when it comes to Minnesota sports. Whether it's positive or negative.
The Yankees have swept the Twins.
Minnesota Sports Chat has you covered. Talking nothing but Minnesota sports all year long. It's time now for the soon-to-be award-winning, if only in his own mind, Minnesota Sports Chat with your host, Ross Brendel.
This would be edition number 224 of the soon-to-be award-winning Minnesota Sports Chat, if only in my own mind, presented by my friends at Beans Coffee Company. J.J. McCarthy's leg has already fallen off. Joe Ryan has lost use of one of his arms, and the Twins are a Bailey Ober or Pablo Lopez injury away from being cooked. All of that and more with Darren Doogie Wolfson from Score North and KSTP TV in moments. But first, I'm a shill. I'm a schlepper, Doogie. Got to remind everybody that the pod's supported by my friends at Beans Coffee Company, and they are my friends. Use the promo code SportsChat at coffeebybeans.com. You'll save cash on the best coffee you will ever put in your mouth. Promo code SportsChat at coffeebybeans.com. Blends and varieties that will satisfy all palates, including mine and Doogie's. It's your one-stop shop for the best coffee around. Made by sports fans who support the same teams that we do in Mankato, Minnesota as well. All orders on $35 $35 or more ship for free at coffeebybeans.com. Promo code SportsChat. Doogie, who can we blame for all the injuries in this town that never seem to stop? I'm going with the 3M water. I have for years. I think it's weakening our muscles and bones, and nobody wants to talk about it.
Interesting, Ross. Hey, thanks for having me back on the podcast.
Good to see you.
Episode 224, congratulations.
Thank you.
If you were to win an award, what award would it be? Are we talking a Marconi?
Well, funny you should say that. Garage Logic Purple Daily nominated for Marconi's. Good luck to both of them. We'll find out in October. I'm kind of hoping, Star Tribune puts out their best. How about best podcast that was started when a guy was laid off and had nothing better to do? And 4 years later, he's done 200 plus of these things, just talking to his friends and mentors.
Well,
could that be an award?
People, it could be. You know enough people. You're a mover and a shaker. You don't want to give yourself enough credit for that, but make a call. Get it done.
Well, do you know, Doogie?
You know there's all sorts of subjectivity. Like, Vanita's my gal, right?
Vanita
and I go way back.
Vanita's awesome.
She used to work here, right? Love Vanita. But I wasn't shocked to see that she won that Star Tribune Award the other day. I'm just saying there's ways that things just happen, right? Russia is omnipresent when it comes to these awards.
Doogie, the one thing I do want to point out.
It's not a surprise.
How many low-budget Minnesota sports podcasts have had, potentially, the vice president of the United States on their podcast? It is possible. Governor Tim Walz, a former guest of Minnesota Sports Chat, as was Governor Jesse Ventura and Governor Tim Pawlenty, all gave me great stuff. I will say this. Tim and Jesse were a lot more fun, but they had the beauty of not currently being in office, where Governor Walz had to be a bit more, we were just talking sports. I told all three that that's what we're doing. This is not a political hit job, hence there were three different parties represented. But he had to be a bit more guarded, right? Because he's current. Where T-Paw was telling great stories about bets he was making with other governors. Jesse was talking about his love for Lynx basketball. It was great. They're all available in this feed.
I bonded with Governor Walz at the 3M Open a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Was it training camp 2023 or 2022? Here's what happens, Ross, when you get old. Years blend together. But Governor Walz pulls me aside, goes, hey, I'm just telling you. Because I said to him initially, I initiated the conversation, then he pulled me to the side. He goes, hey, sports betting is coming. I'm still waiting, Ross. I really am. And it was before the Gophers-Nebraska game. So did they open the season 23?
Last year. Yep, so it was last summer.
It was last summer. Okay, about this time last summer then.
Well, there you go.
And
Another
Governor
failed
Walz.
promise from another politician.
Well, Governor Walz grows up in Nebraska. It's okay if you're a Huskers fan, right?
Yeah.
And he's playing the political game of no. Yeah, deep down, maybe like Nebraska, but go Gophers, PJ this. I'm like, it's okay, Tim. It's all right. You're from Nebraska. It's okay. You're not losing any votes.
Also,
if you say, hey, tomorrow night, it was a day or two before the game. If you just say, hey, I'm rooting for Nebraska, there's nothing wrong with that.
Also, he's not the first person to ever govern a state that wasn't born in that state. So you're allowed to have your fandoms.
All right, so now we got to find somebody to blame, right?
Okay, but
you're saying Joe Ryan,
a couple things though,
JJ
very
McCarthy.
quickly.
Okay.
A couple things very quickly.
All right.
I think my investigative report for what is causing athletes to get injured in this state at a prolific rate, that would be what wins me an award. But I also want people to know, if they listen to Score North, and most of my listeners do, they know that you battled like pneumonia of death. And I sympathize with you because a couple months ago, I told you in our parking lot last night, I had a sinus infection and pneumonia at the same time. And the doctor told me, you're this close to going to the hospital. You need to go home and do nothing. So I totally sympathize with you and appreciate you battling.
Really hard for me. I know it's hard for you. I'm still battling it to some extent. Thankfully, I have the greatest doctor on the planet. Yes, I'm biased, but Dr. Sheldon Burns is as good as it gets.
Wonderful.
He got me the best drugs imaginable. So, Dr. Burns, thank you. Now, I guess it would be 3 days in, 3 dosages in, and I am now feeling better. I'm about 75%.
You sound great. You do sound great.
Yeah. So, I mean, still coughing a little bit. If you hear a slight pause, it means I turned off the mic to cough.
I just had to
still
turn the mic
my
off.
Throat.
Me too. Yeah.
Still feel a little lethargic, a little fatigued. Just still feel a little off, right? Like, your body. And I'm not all the way there. Now, guess what? We're off to Wisconsin Dells tomorrow.
Okay.
And so I'm not going to be 100%. And I have to find a way to frickin' navigate the Dells. So I need all the luck I can get.
Well, peace be with you. I'll give you that one. Okay, so seriously, and I did have this wrote down, and I have no evidence here. It's just anecdotal. It just seems like we are always fighting the injury bug in this state more than any other town I can think of when it comes to sports. But, Doogie, this light bulb went off in my head earlier today. We're also one of 6 or 8 towns that have all 4 major sports? So you are going to hear about injuries more because there's just more players. But it's alarming how much it seems to happen. And I don't know where we can start here, but with the Twins, we went so far as to fire an athletic trainer a few years ago after a bad season, scapegoated him as if that was all the problems. Newsflash, Doogie, this team is just as injured now as they were a handful of years ago.
Well, of course.
And it's every season.
I will tell you, from a communication standpoint, a relationship standpoint, the Twins made the right move changing trainers. I was okay with that. But yes, I hope the optics weren't to suggest that the injuries were done. Ross.
Yeah.
Injuries are inevitable.
Especially in baseball.
Correct. It's such a freaking long season, but it's just unfortunate. I mean, we have news in the last 5 minutes of Byron Buxton officially going on the IL. So he's back on the IL. He gets this cortisone shot the other day. It was the back. Remember, he missed the series at Wrigley last week. And now, leaves the game, middle of the game on Monday. And it's now his hip. Gets a cortisone shot, but he's still going to need some time. Carlos Correa. Who the heck would have thought on July 12th? So he leaves that game in San Francisco. Who would have thought, Ross, 1 month later, now technically what? 1 month plus 3 days later, we'd be talking about Carlos Correa not even having started a rehab assignment. Seriously, I spoke with him the other day in the clubhouse. I said, Carlos, if I had told you on July 13th that we'd be sitting here on August, whatever it is, 12th, 11th, whenever I spoke with him the other day, that we'd be sitting here, maybe it was even last Friday, whatever that date was, right? Because then I went downhill Saturday morning. That's when the pneumonia really kicked in. really, really hit me Monday morning. But whatever it was, last Friday, whatever that date was, I said, Carlos, if I had told you on July 13th that fast forward about a month that you'd be in this position, what the heck would you have told me? He goes, I would have said you were nuts. Like, he didn't think he'd be out this long. He'll be back at some point, but he's going to have to play through some pain. Joe Ryan out in Los Angeles today for a second opinion. That's common. These guys get second opinions all the time. I will say, like, they're having these same conversations in Cleveland. Like, you think about the Guardians, all their injuries. I mean, they lose Shane Bieber before the season starts. So it's not just unique to Minnesota. But yes, when you hear the note that J.J. McCarthy is the first round, emphasis on first round, rookie quarterback to miss an entire season in this modern draft era, which starts in 1967. So we go all the way back to 1967. There has not been one first-round quarterback to miss his entire rookie season. J.J. McCarthy is the first in this modern draft era, although we don't officially know until they place him on IR. I mean, maybe there's a sliver of hope. He could be back week 17, week 18, but it certainly looks like, and hey, there's no reason to rush him back. I would not bet on this, but I'm just saying, until they make the official IR move, we don't know, so there's a sliver of doubt. But, like, think about the chances. It's just unheard of for a rookie quarterback to get hurt in the preseason, then miss the entire season. Sure, I bet there are examples of first-round quarterbacks getting hurt, even first game, maybe second quarter, first game, then missing the rest of the season. But at least that quarterback got some snaps. In this case, doesn't even take one regular season snap, and it looks like he's going to miss the entire season.
So a couple things, and one doesn't really mean anything, but it's an interesting footnote. The last Vikings first-round draft pick that I'm aware of where something similar happened was Chad Greenway. Mm-hmm. He turned out to have a pretty nice career.
He did.
Different position, but he turned out to have a pretty nice career. Not a Hall of Famer in the NFL, but in the Hall of Very Good. Right?
I would take a J.J. McCarthy career that mirrors the accomplishments of Chad Greenway.
I think we all would, because that...
If you can somehow make the parallel, convert what Greenway did, the impact he had, and take that and translate it to the quarterback position. I don't even know how the heck you would do that, Ross. But I'm just saying, if you told me right now, J.J. McCarthy could have the level of success that Chad Greenway had, sign me up.
Well, and at the very least, that means you didn't waste your 11th overall pick. You didn't get a bust, right? That would mean you got at least, if you're trying to draw a parallel, you got a pretty good NFL quarterback.
Well, and remember, 10th, right? I mean,
That's
first
right.
time in Vikings history that they selected a quarterback in the top 10.
Yeah, you're right, because they were 11 and they moved up to 10, right? And I always think it was 12 and they moved up to 11. But then, okay,
and that's the only reason I stopped you was it had never happened before in Vikings history. Close, right? But never before had they taken a quarterback in the top 10 until this year.
So on JJ, and I understand that this is, I'm definitely putting, to go back to where we started, a little bit of political spin on this. If this was ever going to happen to him, where you were going to miss an entire season, you can make the case this is probably the best season to do it from the standpoint, more than likely, Doogie, they weren't going to ask him to play games for this team until halfway through the season, 2/3 of the way through the season. Mm-hmm. So you're still missing the development behind the scenes of the weekly practices and doing a lot of that stuff on the field. However, he can still learn a lot about being a professional, diving into the playbook, getting to know your teammates. As he starts to rehab, he'll be able to do some of those things that are on the field. I'm trying to spin myself. This is bad. It could be a lot worse, assuming this same injury never happens again. There's worse times for this injury to happen.
Agree. But I'm not sure I can
spin
it. Yeah, too positively. Yeah, I mean, it stinks. It absolutely stinks. But sure, I don't disagree with anything you just said.
Do you know who's really happy?
Sam Darnold. I mean, the infrastructure's in place. If Sam can't have success this year, Uncle Mercy on his chances of being a starting quarterback moving forward.
Yep, 100%.
Career backup the rest of his career, which is a bold statement, right? Because I hate to make like some sort of declarative statement on a guy who's still not even 30. But I just think with this infrastructure, if he fails, it's just not going to happen anywhere else. When you have this coaching staff, not just Kevin O'Connell, I mean, Josh McCown. I've heard so many good things behind the scenes about Josh McCown. And it's others, but KOC, Josh at the top of that list.
Can I push
then
you a bit on
you've got all this talent, okay?
Can I
if
push you a bit on that, though?
Then you're not going to ever succeed.
I do think there's a lot of talent here, but you have to keep in mind, one, when will TJ Hawkinson play?
Well, yeah, not week one.
Yep.
Yeah, not week one.
Two.
He looks great, though, in the side field.
Is there a Jordan Addison suspension?
Well, the court hearing is, October 7th. Things move slow. Now, hey, I'll tell you this much. The Vikings need to find a way for Addison to serve that suspension.
This season.
Likely 3 games, multiple games. This season.
Yes.
You don't want this thing being pushed because you can push, right?
We don't need a star
you get
cap
the
situation
right attorney,
here, Dukes.
You can push this thing far into the future. The Vikings shouldn't be worrying about this thing in 25. Figure out a way for Addison to serve his suspension here in 2024. So, yeah, TJ Hawkinson back mid-October, maybe for the London game or immediately after the bye, after the London game. He looks great, though, Ross, on the side field. So I get it. Addison, yeah, might be looking at a multi-game suspension middle of the season. I understand. I get it. Interior of the offensive line, still some question marks. But you've got a stud left tackle. You've got a stud right tackle.
If they're
I think
healthy.
Aaron Jones is still, call me nuts, I still think he's a top 10-ish running back in this league. The Vikings, now, hey, deep down, I think Kevin O'Connell would pass it every play. But I think deep down, he's committed for the first time in 3 years to really legitimately establishing a running game.
Well, and they have to be.
That the combination of Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler are going to touch the ball 22 to 25 times a game. Now, hey, some catches, right? I mean, Aaron Jones can catch the ball and do some stuff in the passing game. But
wouldn't it be nice to see a Vikings team
the idea is
execute
to not
a
have
screen
Sam
pass?
have to do a ton. So I'm just saying, just things are in place for Sam to be able to have success. So if he doesn't, I'm just saying, if he doesn't, to me, enough is enough. You're a career backup. On JJ, we still don't even know what play it happened on.
I know they don't. They
That's
don't
what
know
stinks.
allegedly, right?
They don't really know. I mean, there's a couple they can pinpoint that they think.
What if it's
but
the
it's
new
not
turf?
like he
Doogie?
got up. Well,
What if the new turf is
somebody
bad?
close to JJ just brought that up in a text message with me the other day, just opining, just wondering. I don't know if we'll ever get the answer. Heck, I'm convinced the turf in London absolutely played a role in Lewis Seen's injury.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's worth at least asking the question. But, yeah, to not even know the play, it's like, and he felt okay post-game. I mean, he spoke with us post-game Saturday. Then he wakes up Sunday, and he's like, okay, it feels a little off. So, of course, you say something, and next thing you know, MRI, meniscus, and you have to repair it. And they had to go the long term. I mean, I'm not even aware of the trim being an option anyway, but they absolutely made the right decision to repair the dang thing instead of trimming it. Like, this wasn't a Karl Anthony Towns situation. They had to go the long-term route. And so, to me, they did him right. It was the Vikings team doctor, Dr. Larson, who did the surgery the other day in Egan. But to me, it was the right call.
As long as rehab goes well, he's still your odds-on favorite to be the Week 1 starter in 2025,
Oh, absolutely.
correct?
Yes.
I can't imagine anything that would change that. Hey, low blow, cheap shot alert. I'm going to give my buddy credit for this. I didn't ask if I could do this, so I'm not going to say his name, but he'll know it's him. This is a text message I got yesterday. It's a low blow alert, so apologies if you can't laugh at it because I know you have to talk to this person. Quote, Jordan Addison was carted off at practice, but the good news is it doesn't sound like he was driving it. Well done.
Yeah,
well
that's very good.
Well done.
Yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Twins, and then we'll both get out of here because you got a lot to do, as do I.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Call me crazy. I still think they're going to wind up making the playoffs. Because
Why would I call you crazy?
Well, just hear me out.
Did you watch the Red Sox last night?
I
actually like the Royals, but somebody has to be the 6th seed.
Yep.
The Mariners imploded again today. I saw Baez hit a home run late for Detroit. I don't know if the Tigers held on and won, but the Mariners do nothing for me. I think the Astros win the West. Yes, I think the Twins are absolutely going to make the playoffs. I
say call me crazy because, I mean, we've already touched on it. No Joe Ryan. Buxton now for an indefinite amount of time. Hopefully it's a quick stay. I'd still be surprised if Carlos Correa is back by, September 1st at this point? So you're still waiting a couple weeks on him? Probably?
I'd like to think he's back by September 1st. I mean, even though we don't have a definitive start date on the rehab assignment, he doesn't need long on a rehab assignment. I'd like to think. So we're sitting here on, August 15th? Is that today's date?
Yep. 3 unproven starters, Doogie.
Man, we better have Correa back by September 1st.
Let me test this theory out on you that I texted on.
Although I would have told you on July 25th, he'd be back by August 15th.
That's it. And the Twins,
I think he's back by September 1st.
Doogie, the Twins, for better or worse, when they give you timelines, I no longer believe them because they're often farther out than what they tell you with a player.
All timelines. I've been burned in the last couple of weeks. Not that I gave a timeline on Robert Tonyan, but I was told, he's progressing. He's not going to make the 53-man at this point. He's not even in Cleveland. And I get it, back spasms. That's a tricky injury.
That sucks, too. That's
Gabriel
painful.
Murphy. I was told short term, he'll be okay. He's not in Cleveland. So, yeah, I'm done. Yeah. Oftentimes they don't know, right? Like, Joe and the Twins were pretty optimistic
that it was minor.
Yep. Afternoon, early evening in Chicago, that it was relatively minor. Heck, Joe Ryan woke up the next day. Still felt like he'd be okay to make his next start. Like, he's still, right now, like, the pain isn't, like, severe.
Does Joe Ryan need to be reminded that Brad Radke pitched an entire season on a torn labrum?
Yeah.
Let's go, Joe. We need you. We need you. No.
Trust me, Joe's one heck of a competitor. It's hard for him to wrap his arms around this injury, even though he gets it, right? Him and the Twins are on the same page.
Yeah.
And the Twins are supportive of him being in L.A. today, getting a second opinion. But it's just hard when you feel like you're okay.
And they tell you you're not, and the medicals say that you're not.
Yeah, I mean, the prognosis is 6 to 8 to 10 weeks, which is pretty much season ending.
I'm going to give the front office a ton of credit for why I think this is still a playoff team. And I said it all year, even though they've been looking up the Guardians for the most part. And heck, I still believe they could catch Cleveland. It stunk.
I think Cleveland wins the division.
It stunk. Not getting 3 out of 4 was kind of a cooker because you're technically another full game behind them.
I don't love that Guardians team though. I watched them the other night, Ross, against the Cubs.
It doesn't make any sense.
And I'm like,
it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. But you know
what?
They're
Baseball
winning.
can be a goofy game, but I'm like, I can't see them making a run in the American League. I mean, is Tanner Bybee their game 1 starter?
I think so.
Do they go Williams game 2? Heck, Boyd, game 3, who they just signed to a minor league deal, who they just brought up.
And the lineup doesn't do anything for me, but they just death by 1,000 paper cuts.
They are really good defensively. I get it. The bullpen is as good as it gets, although
Ramirez
you wonder
is a
if
stud.
they wear down at some point. I watch that Cleveland team, and I'm like, how? But I don't know if the Twins catch them. To me, it's going to be Twins-Orioles, 5 seed against 4 seed. That's my prediction. That the Yankees win the American League East. And hey, don't put a gun to my head, right? You might blow my brain to smithereens, right? I'm saying, if you're asking my opinion, and I kind of just gave it without you asking it, but I think the Yankees win the East. The Orioles are the 2 seed in the East, but the 4 seed, playoff seeding wise. So you've got the Yankees and Guardians with the bye. I mean, that's why it would be so cool to win the Central, because the West is that bad. That to me, if you can get that first round bye, take it.
Yeah. Especially for a team that's probably, if they make it to the playoffs, more than likely still going to be dealing with some injuries. But here's the compliment, Doogie. They have been able to withstand so much this year because of great organizational depth. And that comes from just players that you've acquired, your own scouting, having a solid roster. That is all on Derek Falvey. And Thad Levine, if he's still involved at all, I don't know because we never hear from him. They've put him in witness protection like 2 years ago. You never hear from him. You probably do. Thad used to be on TV all the time, used to make the radio rounds all the time.
Not as much as you think.
You don't see him anymore. Never. I think once he started interviewing for other jobs, he was banished. He probably has a job in a mop closet or something at this point. Okay, so that's where they get a ton of credit. The organizational depth and having good, solid players have allowed them to just have this litany of injuries all year and be a good team. I know Judd.
Sean
Phil,
Johnson. Give him credit.
Okay. Say the name again.
Sean Johnson.
Good job, Sean. Thank you for helping.
Think about it. Zebby Matthews a couple years ago, an 8th round draft pick, 9th round draft pick?
Yeah.
Bailey Ober was, an 8th round, 9th round draft pick.
And Zebby.
Sean Johnson, and it's not just Sean, it's his team of scouts. But if you go back to when Sean took over, now he was here. I mean, he's been here since, 2002 or 2003, something like that. But he took over as the lead draft guy 2017. That was the Royce Lewis draft. Go back and look at the Twins draft classes 2017 on. Sean Johnson is the man.
The Zebby pitched now, 4 levels of baseball this year? That's pretty incredible. High A, double A, triple A.
Did Dobnak do that a couple years ago?
Major League Baseball. The Dauber. Back at CHS?
Yes, although
he can technically be
they
claimed,
called up
right?
Julian, no, he's back at
Is he? Okay.
AAA. Yeah, they're in Indianapolis this weekend. But based on some moving parts, how they announced these moves, I know Julian is on his way to Texas, Eddie Julian. But is that the Buxton move, or by putting Buxton on the IL, if they wanted to recall Dobnak before 10 days? Do you have to wait 10 days once you're optioned?
I thought you had to wait 10 days once you're optioned.
But if there's an IL move, I think there's an ability.
Can the Dauber be exposed to other teams?
Well,
right?
He was outrighted.
Okay.
Shoot, Ross, you're asking me questions. I should know the exact answer. I will tell you this much.
Sure.
He's with the Saints right now.
Okay. I'll finish
Don't
with this.
worry about that. So, I don't know if he was or not, but nobody, put it this way, he's still in the Twins organization. That's what matters most.
I'll finish with this, and I want a 30 seconds because I want to be respectful.
Yeah, I got to get back downstairs.
Respectful of your time. Organizational malpractice by the Twins not to acquire. My joke was always, you will get Austin Gomber and you will like it. Yeah. Organizational malpractice not to have another starter.
That's a lot of words, Ross. Like malpractice. Give me the definition of malpractice.
I don't think it's fair to trust 3 guys that have
never
done it before.
What's the exact definition of malpractice?
I wish Declan was here to look it up for me.
Here. I've got the Such computer right here. All right. Let me see if this works.
Malpractice definition.
MAL.
Do you want to hire a malpractice defense attorney? I got a name.
All right, here we go. It's a noun.
Improper, illegal, negligent professional activity or treatment.
All right, I don't think they were negligent. And it certainly wasn't
would say
illegal.
They're negligent.
Who did you want? Michael Lorenzen?
Literally a breathing body that doesn't show up with a damaged arm.
I thought they should have been on a Trevor Rogers. They were not in on Trevor Rogers with the Marlins. Fine.
Was his arm in too good a shape?
I'm not going to lose sleep on that one. Festa, Matthews, Varland.
You know what
they're
saying?
Better than some of these guys.
Do you know
Did
what
you
they're
want
saying
Cal
about Festa?
What?
He's the besta.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I wanted Cal Quantrill after he was telling who he did what in a parking lot. That's one of the greatest.
That was fantastic.
That's one of the greatest barbs of all time. Yeah. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah. That player isn't even in the Red Sox organization anymore.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, 30 seconds in closing. Your Gopher football team, is it going to be painful this year, or are they going to be plucky?
Well, what's the injury latest on Daniel Jackson, on Darius Taylor? Heck, even if Darius Taylor is good, can we trust him to be healthy for 12 games? I've got them winning 6.
I'll take that.
Yeah, with that schedule.
I'll take that. Doogie, we were very punchy today. I like this. This is what happens when I'm angry because of stuff that's happening in the office. Really nobody's fault, just one of those days.
I'm with you.
And then you're just...
Ross, we're part-time firefighters.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
Seriously, I need to be compensated, right? Like, heck, the amount of fires I put out on a daily basis.
You know why you put out fires every day?
Because I'm capable, I guess.
You are not participating in organizational malpractice. You are stopping it from happening. That's what we love about you, Dukes.
Love you.
See you, buddy.
All the best.
That is Darren Doogie
Marconi,
Wolfson.
Here we come.
Let's get one.
All right, Ross.
Let's
see
get
ya.
one.
Thanks for the invite.
Darren Doogie Wolfson from KSTP Channel 5. Score North, the Scoops. He is the best. I'm going to give him a fist pump as he walks on by. That'll do it for edition number 224 of the soon-to-be award-winning Minnesota Sports Chat. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment. Tell me I'm an idiot. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me if you actually like me for some odd reason. Anything you got, put it in those comments. Maybe I'll even bring it up on the next pod. Thanks to Doogie. Thanks, most importantly, to you for putting up with this podcast. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please rate and review as well. That would be mighty kind of you. I'm Ross Brendel. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk again real soon.
Thanks for listening to Minnesota Sports Chat, presented by Beans Coffee Company. Use the promo code SPORTSCHAT. That's one word, Sports Chat, to save at checkout. Follow Ross on X at @TheRossBrendel. Like and subscribe to Minnesota Sports Chat wherever you get your podcasts. Rate and review kindly.